자, 리방입니다. 어서 들어오세요. 짱짱님 함스짱 스크라차. 리하. 짱큐 감사. 드럼프 나왔어. 네.
Medical announcements that this office has ever made, because we're talking about.
볼륨이 왜 안 나오지?
Research and development costs for the entire.
네, 나옵니다.
They put all of that on us, and yet they were the beneficiaries too. So it's being changed as of today. The United States had just 4% of the world's population and consumers, only 13%. They put all of that on us, and yet they were the beneficiaries too. So it's being changed as of today. The United States had just 4% of the world's population and consumers, only 13% of all prescription drugs, yet pharmaceutical companies, 75% of their profits from the United States. So think of that. We have 4% of the market, 13% of prescription drugs, and yet.
짱짱님 나이스. 쿨브레님 리하. 네.
I'm surprised you're agreeing to this.
I'm getting better.
왜 이러지?
Years drug prices came down, and I had a news conference that I explained it was 0.1%, but it was down. And here we're talking about, in one case, over 1,000%. This is a critical step forward to our work and to improve healthcare, and hardworking, low-income Americans, especially low-income Americans, will be helped so greatly. In addition, Pfizer has agreed to provide some of their most popular current medications to all consumers at heavily discounted prices of anywhere between 50 and even 100%, and that's off the price. And in some cases, even more than that, these drugs will be available for direct purchase online at a website operated by the federal government. We're also announcing that moving forward, all new medications introduced by the American market will be sold at reduced most favored nation costs. So we'll be paying essentially what other countries are paying, who have been much lower for many years. Furthermore, Pfizer will invest $70 billion to reshore domestic manufacturing facilities. In other words, they're going to bring a lot of their
화이자 약값 관련해서 발표하는 거네.
what they make their product, they're going to make it in the United
다른
States.
얘기도 하겠죠.
That $70 billion investment in fund research and development right here in America. We're working with other major pharmaceutical companies to secure similar agreements. Everyone understands that the status quo where Americans pay more for drugs, prescription drugs, and they pay more than foreign countries who take advantage of us in many other ways, although not so many anymore. I think we've pretty well got that stopped, right? I think so. We've stopped that, but they took advantage of a lot of other precedents that I can tell you. But we're making this pay to be very unacceptable what they've done in the past. That's why my administration is also taking historic action to investigate the unfair and discriminatory trade practices of other countries that extort our pharmaceutical makers to shift costs onto the American consumer. They say, no, give us a price, a very low price, and just charge the American consumer, charge it to the U.S. The United States has done
사모님
some
잠깐
healthcare of the rest of the
잠시
world.
하고 계시는데
I can't tell you how big this is. And I was all set to go on the first term, but then you had the COVID, and we had to focus on that. But I said, I want to get back here, so because this is, you're talking about 14, 15, 1,600% reductions in some cases. But by taking this bold step, we're ending the era of global price gouging at the expense of American families, and we're making
1시
America healthy again, which is
와,
our
직전 캔들
theme for the
1시간 또
people behind me. And
운봉이야.
I want to just ask
운봉,
Secretary
양봉, 운봉.
Kennedy to come up, and we'll start, and we'll go through it with Oz and Klomp and Burla and McCary, and we'll go through it, and if you have any questions. But this is a really big announcement. This is something that most people said was not doable. And other countries are going along because we told them that if you don't go along, they didn't have to go along. But if they didn't go along, we were going to put extra tariffs on those countries. And we were going to charge them the amount of money that they should be paying for the reduction in costs. So I think we had a pretty good negotiating position. So Bobby, I'd like you to speak about this, and what a great job, and thank you very much.
804.
매도 주문이 접수되었습니다.
804 밑에서 농담을 치고
매도 주문이 체결되었습니다.
어우 씨 807.
In some cases, I think, including last night, 24 hours without any sleep. This would not have happened without President Trump's leadership. I told my son last night, we're all under secrecy about this, but I told my son late last
주연님
night,
리하 어서와요.
27-year-old son Connor, who's a very
야 세다 이거.
Democrat. I told him this was happening, and he just paused for a minute and he said, "Thank you, Dad. I'm so proud of you." Because this is something Democrats have wanted for 20 years.
와
Republicans
세다.
have wanted for 20 years. Everybody said they're going to do it. Nobody has even
슈팅이 나온다 거기서 와.
And the reason was because it was such a
85.5
daunting task. And even all of the negotiators, you say, I also want to thank Howard Lutnick. This would not have happened without him. But even all the negotiators here and all the people on at HHS and at the White House team, all we could see was all the reasons that this couldn't happen.
821까지 갔죠.
Everybody tried. Nobody could make it happen. And it was President Trump alone who, with his doggedness, his persistence, his insistence, he saw this clearly.
다시
In a way
매도
that none of us
도전하라.
in its most simplest terms. Why are we spending more on this country than in any other country? Why are we spending 75% of the revenues that come to the pharmaceutical industry?
슈팅 한 번 더 나옵니까?
We're doing all the
812.
research.
821까지
Everybody else
갔죠.
is riding on our slipstream. And President Trump, I would say, harangued and harassed us to make this happen. I was getting calls at 12 o'clock at night. Oh, are you asleep? And you got to get MFN done. And at one point, Dr. Oz told me I can't take the president's calls anymore. I have a lot of reasons.
안 빠진다, 안
A lot of
빠져.
reasons to say to me about different things that happened in my life. Doesn't that make me
807.
anxiety? And I said,
807
I'm
밑으로
getting
가야 돼.
anxiety. This gave me
그래야지 좀
anxiety.
가는구나.
Oh, thank you, President Trump. It would not have happened without you. This is real
안 되겠다.
leadership.
이거 나와야 되네. 나와야
It's
돼.
somebody, a president who has a vision and makes that vision happen. And if any other president of the United States who could have done this in our history,
매수
I'm very
주문이
grateful to you.
체결되었습니다.
This is an extraordinary benefit. The American people, thank you for your vision, President Trump. Your bold action, your unwavering commitment to
800
the
위에서
health and
방금
well-being of the American people. Never has a president stood up so bravely for the American
807에서
people
반등.
with respect to health care.
807에서 그냥 얌전히 반등해라. 아, 예.
매수 주문이 접수되었습니다.
매수요, 매수.
Typically an antagonism toward each other. But I have to say his leadership in this took tremendous courage. And he really created a template for corporate responsibility for putting public health
매수 주문이
ahead of
체결되었습니다.
가자, 이제.
individual interests. So I'm very, very grateful.
807 위에서 반등.
Under the leadership of President Trump, the U.S. government is now acting as a
전전까지만 가자.
on behalf of the American people. Today is about fairness, it's about equality, it's about giving hope to those who are trying to stay healthy, who are managing illness and who are fighting for their lives. We refuse to make the most vulnerable citizens continue to pay an unthinkable price for the world's pharmaceutical breakthroughs, which we pay for. This policy is a shield for the chronically ill who have carried the burden of high drug costs.
와 이런 구간
For far too
피했어야
long,
돼.
it's a signal to every American family that we're finally putting their health and financial security first.
매수
And it
주문이
sets a new
접수되었습니다.
standard, one that says we won't write blank checks to the drug industry any longer. No family should ever be forced to choose between filling a prescription and putting food on the table. Americans should not be gouged paying 300 or 400 or 1,000%
야,
more
보건 복지부 장관으로 어떻게 하는 중이에요. 와, 목소리
for the exact same
다
product,
죽어갑니다.
many times manufactured in the same factory in New Jersey and sold in Great Britain for 1/10 the price that it's being sold for here. This week, and I was with some friends.
803에서 만든 이거는
And an old friend,
803은 지켜야 된다,
his
이거.
wife and daughter have a chronic disease. And that chronic disease last year cost $150,000 to treat. And the mother had to choose
시대에서
whether
계속
she
저항만
was going to
슈팅 한번 나오지 좀.
and spend it on her or her daughter. And she spent it on her daughter. So she had to make that choice. It's a choice that no mother should have to make. We did a roundtable recently on drug prices. One patient spent $480,000 on one drug. One cashed in all of her savings and worked 3 jobs to make ends meet. One almost quit her job and moved to Germany to get the drug cheaper. Some looked at getting the drug on unsafe secondary markets because they could not afford it through the legitimate markets. Today, we begin to right that ship. For the mother trying to help her child get better, for her grandmother at the pharmacy counter, and for millions of Americans who want to restore their health. Today is about another promise made by President Trump and another promise kept by
더
President
누르겠네.
Trump
803에서.
to the American people. And it's only just the beginning. This is all thanks to your unwavering leadership, Mr. President.
이거는 들어올리면 나와야 되겠네.
There is a fine line between vision and hallucination. People have to follow
매수
you for it
준비
to be a vision.
체결되었습니다.
And President Trump, you made a lot of people follow you an idea that most people thought was not possible, even remotely. And when we have to speak to some of the people who were involved in this process, because it was an incredible effort that gives me great pride to serve in this administration. And the fact that it did not leak is also an issue of pride for us, because these were tough challenges. And Albert Bourla looks very calm up here and
800을 못
cat-like, but he's
지킨다고.
ferocious when you get him in the negotiating room. This
반등해야 돼,
is all
이제.
the pharmaceutical companies that we are
800.5.
negotiating with. And Secretary Kennedy, my son Oliver, who I told about this deal as I was walking over here, is a Republican. And you know what he said? Thank you for making us proud. Because it's not just a Democratic problem, it's a Republican problem. This has not happened before. And it took a crusader like President Trump, with the support of Secretary Kennedy, Secretary Lutnick, I see the Vice President's here as well, just unwavering, dogged pursuit of change. And now I have to admit that I know the President has me on speed dial, and most of the time when he would call me,
하나만
as
더.
Secretary Kennedy alluded to, it was about MFN, and he always had reasons why we needed to go faster, why people were being hurt today, because we're allowing the kinds of pricing that had been tolerated for so many decades in America. The time of the day didn't matter, the day of the week didn't matter, and that's how the president was functioning. This was such an important part of what he saw as his legacy, which is why it brings such pride to all of us up here and many others to deliver it. And the laser focus that the president had on this, which he shared with me the day that I was nominated, that he nominated me for this position, and has reminded me
매수 주문이
frequently since,
접수되었습니다.
made it a top priority for us as well at CMS. Now, to do this,
97.25까지
you
왔어요.
have to have tactics, not just
자,
physical
여기선
tactics.
가자.
And the first tactic the president shared was to introduce me to Albert Bourla. He took us to dinner with Secretary Kennedy, and he argued, and he's a great deal maker, as you know, that if you're going to make a deal of this scope, of this nature, you need trust. So the president lit the kindling, he got the embers going, but he needed us to nurture that beginning of a fire so they would
뭡니까 이거?
ever, certainly in the space of pharmaceuticals. I gained to respect Albert, and I'll tell you why, in particular. It was because he recognized the dangerous problems facing so many Americans,
조금만 더.
that they had to choose between taking medications prescribed by their doctor that could be life-saving, or shopping at the grocery store, paying for their kids a fundamentally important need that would be squeezed out because they couldn't compromise on drugs. Or often worse, they compromise on the drugs. 1/3 of all prescriptions are not filled in the pharmacies because of this.
7.25죠.
We talked through the winter. We talked through the spring.
최소
We talked
주문이
through the summer.
접수되었습니다.
And we got nowhere. We stalled. The
나와야
industry is
된다,
powerful,
이거.
they're important, they have smart
지금
people,
못
there's no
들어가면
reason for
나와야
them to
돼.
give the numbers that the president is articulating today. You see these numbers on the chart
시가에서 또
around.
자,
These are
시가
massive
보고
wins
시가
for the American
돌파
But the
이 자리에서
president
못할 것
July
같은데
demanded, after the executive order, that manufacturers make a firm commitment
합니까? 뭐 하면
and to
뭐
lower prices or else. And it sent shockwaves through the industry. It got the ball rolling again. Our talks with Albert heated up, but it wasn't until, if you want an inside story, it wasn't until last week that we made a major breakthrough. And our hardworking team embarked on a remarkable story that I think books will be written about. 24/7 nonstop with industry with Albert, with his great team at Pfizer. And with this partnership, we began to deal with the fundamental challenges we have, which is protecting medical advances for the future while at the same time securing the prices Americans want today. We're going to continue to stimulate and strengthen innovation. That's what a great country does, and we are a great country with a great leader. We're going to protect the U.S. hegemony in R&D. We dominate the planet in discovering cures for illnesses. All those orphan ailments, all those remarkable advances, they come from research labs here with companies like Pfizer and other great ones in the pharmaceutical space. We're going to lead in the life sciences. We're going to lead in ideas.
시가 부분을 돌파를 못해요. 3분봉
while we're being fair to the
분봉
American people,
아래꼬리로
especially our most vulnerable. We're going to finally deliver on the fair drug prices that President Trump has been speaking about
많이 밀릴 것
for two
같은데.
terms. We're going to celebrate this historic day, I predict, this historic day in the medical field for generations to come. The heroic negotiators that I do feel compelled to mention, Secretary Kennedy kindly also mentioned their names. Some of them can't be in here because they're busy negotiating future deals. Inma Hernandez-Delso, John Brooks, who's a deputy administrator of mine, Theo Merkel, who is in the back and tall and hard to miss with DPC, and Corey Enslin with the same group did a spectacular job, and Don Dempsey at OMB. Wonderful human beings worked tirelessly to get this done. We were able to secure this first MFN deal, and the president touched on this, but we have much more to come. You'll be hearing breaking news from the president for the rest of the fall. And Mr. President, these brilliant minds are here because of you. Now, I don't want to just pay homage to this. I want to actually speak this a little bit. The passion to protect the American people brings
더 밀겠는데 이거. 그림이 더 밀어.
into the
더
government.
미는 그림.
We
오,
created a powerful administration with the
오,
president.
장대운봉 아래꼬리
winners.
난리 났네.
People get things done. They see the generational opportunity to fix the biggest problems.
아,
our
이거
nation
나와야 돼, 나와야 돼,
faces.
나와야 돼.
And the person who led this negotiation, Chris Klump, embodies this seal. Now, Chris Klump came to visit Secretary Kennedy and I the very first day we were looking for a staff
79.75까지
to try
밀었죠.
to bring in the government. And we, neither of us really had
나와야 돼.
an idea of how challenging this might be. And he came to the interview, and we knew that he had built a business that was worth several $100 million. And the secretary, very poker-faced as he tends to be, looked at him and said, "Are you willing to give it all up and move your family to Washington?" A young family, 4 young children, a beautiful wife. Are you willing to come across the country and serve our nation?
다 나오고 싶다 이거.
Ensure vital
그냥
programs
더
like
미는
Medicare
그림이
she runs
돼버렸어.
will keep our seniors healthy for years to come. He gave it all up, like so many have in this administration,
거꾸로 들어가자 이거.
passionate to follow the president's lead and serve under Secretary Kennedy. And for those of you at home who are watching, and I hope there are quite a few, I think this shows just how cool a place it is to work, is in this government.
시가
And I take
저하.
great pride in handing the ball to Chris. Chris, tell the American people what they have won, thanks to your passionate ability to deliver on President Trump's
매도
promise.
주문이 체결되었습니다.
지금 저점 79.75 밀어야지.
Mr. President, you have enabled something that as recently as last night, nearly everyone has said was impossible. And Secretary Kennedy and Administrator Oz, thank you for having trust in us as a negotiating team to drive this forward on behalf of the American people.
그림 또
It is an absolute
바꾸려고
honor.
한다. 일단은 본청 걸어놓고. 저점만 밀어 저점.
To you, as the team
79.
at Pfizer, you
그림
have
바뀌면
taken
뭐
a
어쩔
step
수 없어.
that I think few appreciate requires a level of courage to change something that for decades administrations have tried. And there was no incentive rationally for you to do, and yet you've done it because you recognize the opportunity to align your economic interests with the social interests of the American people.
저점은 밀어라 좀.
Today is historic, as has been discussed. This is a major win in the battle for affordable health care and affordable drugs. As the president said, on average, we pay nearly 3 times what the rest of the wealthy world pays for branded pharmaceuticals. And yet we drive more than 50% of global R&D, 50% of revenues, nearly 70% of profits. It's unjust. It's morally unjust. And when this happens, we stifle innovation and we limit access for the most vulnerable people across the planet and in America who need these medications. And so the president directed us to make deals. That's what he does, and it's what we do. And all great deals, and this is a great deal, are rooted in principles. And this deal was rooted in the principle of fairness. Now, the president could have directed us to go to the poorest country on the planet and find the cheapest price for every single drug and bring that back to the United States and use the might of the government to insist that that's the price we pay. And that might have worked, actually, for just a little bit. But very quickly, it would have utterly destroyed innovation in pharmaceuticals. It would have destroyed American primacy in building life-saving medications. There are nearly 20,000 known diseases on the planet. We have treatments or cures for far fewer than 10% of them. So that would have been a bad strategy. It would have limited access to those who need those medications the most. But he didn't call for that. He didn't call for 50% lower than the lowest price on the planet. What he called for was fairness. And that's a powerful principle. Because we all grow up wanting to be on the right side of fair.
여기서
And it allowed us to do what has not been done
들어올리면
before,
더
which
위에서
is to
또
call on
카페하던가.
manufacturers and ask them to be fair. And allows us to go to countries and ask them to pay their fair share in the battle against global disease. And that is the unlock for this great deal. Now, it's my privilege to talk just for a few minutes about the details of the
저점을
deal.
지키려고 그래.
First,
79를
let's start
지키려고
with the
그러는데.
definition of MFN. What do we mean by that? This is not made-up list prices that have often been quoted in prior administrations, stuffed with fees and rebates. We're talking about we start at net prices, after fees, after rebates, the prices people actually pay here, the prices people actually pay in other wealthy countries. We then index to a basket of countries, wealthy countries, across the world. And we go drug by drug, and we look for the lowest price, and that becomes the starting point for what an MFN price is in the United States. And then we built this principles of fairness on five key pillars, as we've talked about. Number one, as has been discussed, direct access for patients at Trump RX, which is a site soon to be launched, available often at full MFN and always at lower prices than currently available. This is bypassing middlemen. It increases transparency. In many instances, prices are 80% lower than they are today. No more Canadian detours to purchase drugs more inexpensively at our neighbor. You do it from home. You do it at a click. This is American ingenuity outsmarting the system. Number two, the president was very clear to us and directed us to ensure that we secured the lowest prices for the most vulnerable Americans, those who are served by Medicaid. So we focused there
저점
first.
79.75 살짝
So Pfizer will be
밀고
putting virtually
만든.
all of its portfolio of drugs at MFN prices available to Medicaid in the near future. This safeguards the program. This ensures that this program lives as a lifeline without undue burden on the taxpayer for those who need it most, for our vulnerable Americans whom we are charged morally to care for. The third principle is about future-proofing fairness. This is the idea that Pfizer has committed, as are other manufacturers, that they will not launch a new drug for commercial, Medicare, Medicaid, or cash-pay markets at a price that is higher than the other wealthy world. Now, they are free to price their drugs wherever they want. These are not price caps. These are not price controls. They can price however they like. We're simply asking them, and they are
안 밀리네.
not to undercut us in
들어올리겠네.
other countries. This is an essential principle. This allows us to retrain other countries to appropriately value innovation for their citizens, to appropriately understand what fair share means to contribute global R&D. This allows us not to compromise access for those who need it most. And this is
매수
powerful.
종이 체결되었습니다.
The fourth principle is around
아,
shared
징그럽다.
savings. As our commerce colleagues and as our U.S. trade representative colleagues succeed in encouraging other countries to pay more for existing medications, a portion of that will go to fund additional R&D, and a portion of that will repatriate back to the United States to offset prices, lower prices further for Americans on those existing drugs. And the fifth principle, as discussed, with hats off to Secretary Letnick and Ambassador Jameson Greer from U.S. Trade, is about Pfizer committing to onshore 100% of the value of all imports that it currently imports to the United States, thus ensuring that we seal our great American resurgence. If you're watching this right now and you are looking for evidence that this is a president who knows and cares about you, who is fighting for you, who is fighting for every American, this is Exhibit A. This is not an empty promise. It's not platitudes. It's not lacking a plan. These are hard contracts with teeth, lowering prices now that we will all feel. These are the most significant, historical, substantive, mathematically quantified price reductions in the history of our country and modern-day pharmaceuticals. I cannot thank you enough for your leadership in enabling this to happen. It is an absolute pleasure. The President has showed us that the impossible can be achieved, and that is what's happened today. God bless America. With that in mind, it is my absolute pleasure to introduce Albert Bourla, CEO of Pfizer.
Mr. President, what an honor to be here today in this office to announce a landmark agreement. I think it's an historic day.
Is this the coolest office? He has a beautiful office, but the Oval is the coolest, right? What do you think?
I think by far. And I have seen other presidents' offices, there's nothing like that.
It's good office.
Yeah. So it's an historic day because I think today we are turning the tide and we are reversing an unfair situation. For years, other rich nations refused to pay the fair share for the medical innovation, and as a result, Americans had to assume disproportional costs on their shoulders. This situation, we all knew, is not sustainable. This situation is a situation that many wanted to change, but no one could. This is changing today with this agreement. In July, the President sent to me and other heads of pharmaceutical companies a letter, and over there he articulated 4 specific requests. These requests, it was obvious to us, were designed to lower drug costs in the America in different ways, each one of them. And altogether,
요구한 시간을
to have synergistic effect in the impact that will have in the U.S. healthcare
행보를
costs.
언제까지 해?
With this
징글징글합니다.
deal that we signed today, we satisfied all 4 of President's requests. All 4. The big winner of this deal clearly will be the American patient. There is no doubt about it. They are the ones that will see significant impact in their ability to buy medicines. But I would argue that it is not the only winner. I think who else is the winner here? It is American innovation and American economy. In our industry, we had 2 major overhangs that have substantially reduced our valuations and create concerns for us in our ability to invest. We are addressing both of them right now, and I will speak about it.
다시 시가 부분까지
The first one was the
꼬물딱꼬물딱
uncertainty of tariffs.
올리는.
Because President is absolutely right. Tariffs is the most powerful tool to motivate behaviors, Mr. President, and clearly motivated ours. Right? So, by this agreement that we did, we commit to onshore the production of our medicines that are consumed in the US and are made outside the US. And for that, we are ready to unleash our investment portfolio in this country. And the President graciously gave us a 3 years grace period that we will not be subject to the 232 tariffs, as long as, of course, we move the products here. That's one. The second overhang in our industry was this uncertainty. What will happen with the framework of pricing in the country? Because this uncertainty, it was what was holding people from investing in the pharmaceutical industry, which resulted in
814.25까지.
reduction of our multiples. Actually, our multiples are at historical low. Well, now we have clarity about what is the framework for the
매도
US
이미
price.
체결되었습니다.
Read the letter of President Trump, read the 4 points, and this is the framework.
손절.
And we will abide to that, and going forward, this is how things will be priced in the US and abroad. We are ready to invest, as the President also mentioned, $70 billion in the next few years
야,
of Pfizer
세네
in
요번에.
manufacturing and research in America alone.
매수 주문이 체결되었습니다.
I really think this is an historic moment because also I can put that behind us.
전일종가 또
All the things that
근처까지
I
갔어요.
want to spend
자,
my time.
양전해라
Cancer
이제.
to bring better obesity medicines, to bring better vaccines, to bring things that
아,
people buy.
지금
And thank you for allowing us to do that. I want to thank Secretary Kennedy. I want to thank Secretary Ladd. Your leadership helped us to put that together.
807.
매수
You
주문이
were the
접수되었습니다.
mastermind of everything.
시가 위에서
Without the
807.25
brilliant way that you designed the whole thing,
많이
we
잡고.
wouldn't be able to make it happen. But you were even more brilliant because you had someone in your team that he was the driving
매수
force.
주문이 접수되었습니다.
손실.
You had words to thank
아 얘한테 말렸어요. 아,
And it is what you have
이게 또
said.
도망가는 거 봐.
Create trust from day one. And that was the
또
most
이,
important
그분이
thing
왔어 또.
that allowed us
아이씨,
to be able to pull very difficult negotiations.
짜증이 시작되면서
To thank
손실.
the U.S. Trade Representative, who is also
62.75 돌파하겠네
and he's
이거.
probably the first trade representative that I have seen that cares
매수 주문이
about our industry
접수되었습니다.
and cares to do something
30.
about unfair situations out there. But more than anyone else,
최소
Mr.
주문이
President, I want to
접수.
thank you
매수 주문이
for your
체결되었습니다.
leadership and frankly for your friendship.
더 나온다 진짜.
Thank you very much. Great job.
Thank you, Mr. President. The growth of drug spending, that is, the increase in drug pricing, is the fastest and biggest increasing area of healthcare spending. So today's announcement
완전
has
말렸어요.
incredible implications for healthcare spending in the United States. And today marks the beginning of the end of the Great American Ripoff. And it also marks the beginning of the end of a great American tragedy, something I've seen as a physician at the bedside. Patients
43.75에서
getting spun up into a financial rage,
와장창 미네.
doing GoFundMe campaigns online, sending repeat reminders, asking people to donate, getting their churches to pass the offering plate from pew to pew, Sunday after Sunday, to try to get enough money to pay for a drug in the United States, a drug that's 5 or 10 times more expensive than the same drug in France or Germany or the UK. People get spun up and it's a tragedy. Having cancer is hard enough.
계약서 많아졌어요.
Getting spun up into a financial rage in order to try to get the money to pay for treatment makes it so much harder. 37% of people who go through cancer care say in the end that the financial toxicity makes them want to avoid
아야 다 털어먹어라 그냥. 아우
they're
개 짜증나
they're done
정말.
with the system. That's how toxic financial toxicity can be.
완전
And for
말렸어요.
what? For what? So the U.S. can finance the R&D of the world? Well, that ends today, thanks to President Trump. So we want to see R&D. We want to see American pharmaceutical companies thrive. We want to see pharmaceutical companies that do business and manufacture in the United States thrive. At the FDA, we're doing our part. If you're going to equalize your price to that of other wealthy countries, we're not talking about Zimbabwe. We're talking about Germany, France, UK, Japan, other wealthy countries, the
시가 지지도
OECD
못해줘요.
countries. If you equalize your price, then we're going to put your future applications at the front of the line.
매수
A
주문이
voucher to
매수
get a
주문이
review in
접수되었습니다.
weeks has a market street value of about $500 million because every day is money when it comes to getting a drug approved.
13.25.
And so if you meet one of the president's national priorities stated very clearly, moving manufacturing to the United States, meeting a large unmet public health need, or equalizing your prices. We're the largest purchasers of drugs. We deserve the best prices. And so we're going to do our part. And if a generic company makes their drug in the United States, that application is going to move to the front of the line as well. And if you're going to build a plant in the United States, our FDA inspectors will walk through that plant during the construction phase, something never done before. So that it's
810.75에서
ready on day
만든
one. So thank you, Mr. President, for your leadership. They said it couldn't be done, and here we are. Thank you.
매수 주문이 접수되었습니다.
You may want to go up and just show one of
최소
the
주문이
boards
접
about
매수 주문이
how
접
quickly
매수
the
주문이
prices come down. And
체결되었습니다.
these are small examples. We're going to have it over 1,000% in some cases. You'll see that during the week. But we just picked out 4 at random, and you see the kind of numbers, Bobby, and maybe Albert. Good.
For examples, but I want to be totally clear, these are not the only 4 examples. And as the President mentioned, this is not the only agreement. It is the first.
뭐 하는
It's an historic agreement. There are many to come, and we're excited to talk about them. And that means hundreds and hundreds of drugs. We are not exaggerating when we talk about reductions of up to 80%. We give you 4 examples here. One for dermatitis.
매수
The new
주문이
price
종료되었습니다.
MFN results in 80% reduction to what's available
난리
today.
났네.
One in postmenopausal osteoporosis, 85%. Migraines that affect so many Americans, 50% reductions. Rheumatoid arthritis, something my mother struggled with, 40% reductions. This is about access. This is about ensuring that Americans have access to life-saving medications. These are real prices.
그냥
These are net
잡아먹으러 오네.
prices. They're not made up. They're not funny numbers.
Thank you very much. Great job. Everybody here has been incredible. We've been standing here talking about the Make America Healthy Again a lot lately. And I think, our meeting the other day was excellent on a thing called Tylenol.
좀
It
줄이자.
was a very important meeting. I think it was a very important meeting. And this, in terms of pricing, it's going to be
시가
great for
보험까지만.
Medicare, Medicaid, Social Security. It's going to be great for everything because
계약수 좀 줄여야 돼.
medicine costs are coming way
손절하고.
down. We have some examples that I think we'll be able to show you next week of over 1,000% in some cases, where a pill that costs $10
바뀌었어,
in
그림이.
$30 in New York and various other places within the United States. And the same thing with Canada. People would go to Canada, they go to Mexico, they go to other places to buy drugs. They don't have to do that anymore. So we have favored nations. So that's what we have. And that's one of the biggest days I think anybody will ever have. We're talking about massive numbers, and the numbers are going to get even better with a little time. And I will say, Albert, I think that the drug companies are going to be the same. You're going to, the world, we're really competing against the world, so they have more people. So we'll come down a lot, and the world's going to go up a little bit. And the end result is you're going to, I think, do the same business pretty much. Maybe you'll figure a way to do more business, I think, no you. But I think the drug companies, we're going to come down a lot. The U.S. will come down a lot, but the world, many more people, is going to go up a little bit, and it equalized, and it's a great tribute. And I want to thank everybody up here. JD, thank you for all of your help too, and Howard, great, really great job. Thank you all very much. Do you have any questions? How about we focus on this? It's so big. Let's focus on this.
Can you please give us
802에서 반등하는 거죠.
First of all, this kind of goes along with your America First campaign promises, lowering healthcare costs. On a day that seems like we're going into a government shutdown led by Democrats on the premise of providing health benefits to illegals, this sends
시가에서 저항.
move here is a stark contrast.
817에서
Could the same principles that
또
you
빠꾸다.
did today apply to
817에서 또
health
빠꾸.
insurance to maybe lower the cost of health insurance? Many Americans are kind of struggling
And we're
with
working on just that, little different group, but we're working on just that. It could, I don't know to this extent. We have a pill, one pill in particular we're going to show you next week. It sells for $10 in other countries and $137 in the U.S. And that's coming down now to probably $15 or $18. They'll go up to 18. I think that's pretty much right, Albert. It's not you, but they'll go up to 18, and we'll come down from 135 or whatever down to 18. I mean, that's a massive number. Remember, I was the one that held the news conference because I lowered drug prices by 1/4 of 1%. I think it was 1/8 of 1%, but it was the only one in 28 years that brought drug prices down for the year. But it was a very small number. Now we're talking about, you're going to see one over 1,000%. Look at these numbers. So, and this has a big impact, even on the discussion that we'll have with Chuck Schumer, who was here yesterday, along with a very nice gentleman who I didn't really know. You know who I'm talking about. The two of them came, and we had a good discussion, and we're going to see what happens. We're going to see what happens, but this has a huge impact on that because these numbers are going to bring Medicaid. We talk about Obamacare. Obamacare is a failure. Obamacare is not good. It's not. It's there, but relative to other healthcare programs, it's in the lower 20%. It's not good. And I asked the Democrat representatives, what do you think about coming up with a better health care? This actually allows you to do that because the cost of prescription medicine is a big, I guess, a very big, more than 50% the cost of what we're talking about. So we might be able to do something like that. This is a big this is one of the biggest news conferences from a medical standpoint that I
야,
think has ever been
평단에서
had
빠꾸
by any
한다.
administration. Yeah, please.
824.
I'm curious, where are the other companies other than Pfizer? Are you expecting them to
They're all
come
with us, and I was honored to have Albert be the first. He's done a fantastic job with, as you know, with the COVID. He did a fantastic job with a lot of things. He's a leader, and
요구안에서 반등 성공 못하면
right at the top, you know, it's,
802에서
Eli
반등하는
Lilly
거예요.
has been fantastic also, your friend, my friend. And
Okay,
they're all coming in over the next week. We're making deals with all of them. And I said, if we don't make a deal, then we're going to tariff them an extra 5, 6, 7, 8%, whatever the difference is, we'll take it that way. So we took away the advantage by the fact that we have tariffs. We took away the advantage that they would have of just saying no and we couldn't do anything about it. If they do that, what we do is we put a tariff on them of an equivalent amount, and we take it that way. And nobody wants to play that game. So they're going to be, they're all going to be good. We didn't have to mention that to Albert. Well, maybe I whispered it to him very slightly. You know, we had to give ourselves a little bit of an advantage. But no, but the tariffs played a big role because they know that's what's going to happen.
13.25에서 트라이,
The tariff, the exemption of the 232s, but
13.25에서 들어올립니다.
a timeline for when we can expect the results of that 232 investigation?
Let Howard answer that question, please.
Sure. So while we're negotiating with these companies, we're going to let them play out and finish these negotiations because they are the most important thing to the American people. So we are standing by, helping, and working with them. But the driver of the 232 outcomes is our HHS team because, I mean, look what they've accomplished today. So we are on their side helping them. But that is the model that's going to drive.
And you have to understand, Albert's spending $70 billion that he wouldn't be spending because of the tariffs, let's say, and other reasons. I think he liked the winter of November 5th, in all fairness, but because of the tariffs, that wouldn't happen. He's not going to pay any tariffs because when he moves here, there are no tariffs. So he won't be paying tariffs. That's the beauty of it. If you move here, there are no tariffs. And we have over $17 trillion, Albert. 17 trillion. So Biden had less than $1 trillion for 4
어쩌다가
years.
이렇게 됐을까?
We have over 17 trillion for essentially 8 months.
혼자 뻘짓하다가 이렇게 됐어.
Come down, Mr. President. When can America?
They will start coming down. Drug prices? Well, they'll be starting immediately.
그냥 조용히 얌전하게 하고
Can you speak
있다가.
to what impact you think this reduction in drug prices will have on midterms coming up?
I think it's going to have huge. I said, if we can pull this off before midterms, I've wanted to do it from the beginning, from my first day in first term. And we were doing so well. We had the greatest economy we've ever had. Everything was good. And then we're ready to do this, which is complex and big. It's a big change. But what happened is COVID came, and we focused on COVID. We focused on COVID very hard with Albert, with the other companies, with everybody. Regeneron was a great thing. You know, we did a lot of therapeutics that were fantastic. And so we focused on that. And I said, if I pull this off again, the first thing I'm going to do, and you know,
오늘 장 요상코로 오늘 장이
big deal.
예정된 날이었어요.
But it's not as much
일단
as I said.
시장도
The
수선하고
world is going to go up a little bit. We're going to come down a
셧다운
lot.
이슈
But
때문에.
now it's fair.
Mr. President.
We're going to be paying the same thing. Yeah.
President Trump, in your first term, when you cut the price of insulin,
상원에서 뭐
Biden and your candidate tried to steal
투표
credit for
얘기도
that.
안
Do you
나오고
believe that?
셧다운
Do you
될
believe
예정
that Democrats
같아요.
are going to try to steal credit for these historic cuts?
거기다가 오늘
It's
월말장에
I really
분기
appreciate your
3분기
question, because I did. I cut the price of
말장이라서.
insulin down to $35. And the problem is with many of these things, in this case it's going to be pretty quick, but oftentimes you'll do something medically.
자,
because of the
808에서 지금
process,
들어올리는 거 이거 반등
and
성공해야
it won't
돼.
be seen for 2 or 3 years. That happened also with I could say 4 different things, but just if you talk about insulin, so it was 200, 300, 500, and you couldn't get it, and I got it down to 35. And I said, I hope I win the next election because otherwise whoever wins is going to take credit for it. Well, what happened is we did win the election. We did great. But unfortunately, it didn't work out that way from a practical standpoint. And Biden, when I saw him get up and take credit for the $35
주로는
and
그냥
even
확
less insulin,
미끄러질 것 같은데.
that was 1,000% lower than what it was just previous, boy, I tell you, I didn't like it. I didn't like it. So I did the best I could to let them know we did it, because we want to be given credit. But we are the ones that got insulin down to that number, and you're right. They tried to take credit for it. They had nothing to do. In fact, they didn't even know what happened. All of a sudden, the insulin price kicked in at $35, and they asked Biden about it. He had no idea what the hell they were talking about. But after they explained, and they didn't really explain to him because he was not capable really of understanding. But when they went out and talked about it, they acted like it was a great feat, but it had nothing to do with him. And it continues, and we'll get it down even further. But insulin was, people weren't taking it, I would imagine. They couldn't take it. God bless you, Bobby. I hope I didn't catch COVID just there.
Mr. President.
He's got Paxlovid.
Mr. President.
Give me a Paxlovid immediately.
Mr. President, you can.
아 머리 아프다 진짜.
For
아이씨.
the American people, she's going after your
내 짜증나.
administration for cutting taxpayer-funded healthcare.
아 올퍼 형님. 예.
Nancy Pelosi. She
족밤이요.
went on NBC last night, dropped a bunch of F-bombs, told Republicans to go at themselves. Has she lost her mind?
We have done an unbelievable job medically. Just this, if you did nothing else, we've done a lot, like the insulin. But just this, nobody can ever catch this. This is the biggest price reduction times, maybe 10 times, 15 times, than has ever been given before. And this is going to have a huge impact. You know, as I said, Obamacare is not a good thing. It's been bad. And I'd like to make it better. I told them, I spoke to a lot of people, a lot of Democrats recently. I said, why don't we change it? We can make Obamacare much better. We could come up with a new system that would be much better, less expensive for the people and better. This is maybe the biggest breakthrough because, you know, when you're talking about the prescription drugs, that's a big part of it. So we're going to look, this is prescription, but we're going to be looking at that. We can come up and through this whole thing, you know, because I don't know, we'll probably have a shutdown because one of the things they want to do is they want to give incredible Medicare, the Cadillac Medicare to
쭉 미는 그림 돼버렸네.
And what that does is it keeps them coming into our country.
쭉 밀고 내 거 손절
No country can
따고
afford that. No
들어올
country.
가능성이 있네.
And we have the border stopped up. We have it closed. We have nobody for 4 months. Zero people came in. That wasn't me. That's by the authorities who happen to be liberally oriented. But just think of that. We have people offering health care to people all over the world that they can't afford to pay. And that's the Democrats. And what happens, what that does is it brings people into the country because they want to come in for the health care. But no country can afford it. And they can't afford it. So we cannot allow them to charge tremendous amounts of money for health care for people that aren't even citizens. And in many cases, they come in from prisons, jails, and mental institutions. And we can't let that happen. So we have a big fight over that. We have a fight over open borders. They still want open borders. We're having a fight over men and women's sports, if you believe it. You would have thought they would have learned. That's not a good issue. And we have a fight in transgender, as you know, transgender for everybody. And that, when you talk medically, that's a lot of money too. That's a lot. Those operations are bad. So those things are also being discussed right now. I mean, can you imagine we're actually talking about open borders, that we now have a great border and we have a great country. Our country was dead 1 year ago. Now we have the hottest country anywhere in the world. Big difference. Yeah.
정부 셧다운은
The
Undocumented.
Democrat Party, when they have a 33% favorability rating on average in recent months, and they're willing to shut down the government over healthcare.
They are shutting it down. We're not shutting it down. We don't want it to shut down because we have the greatest period of time ever. I told you we have $17 trillion being invested. So the last person that wants it shut down is us now. With that being said, we can do things during the shutdown that are irreversible, that are bad for them and irreversible by them, like cutting vast numbers of people out, cutting things that they like, cutting programs that they like. And you all know Russell Vought. He's become very popular recently because he can trim the budget to a level that you couldn't do any other way. So they're taking a risk by having a shutdown because of the shutdown, we can do things medically and other ways, including benefits. We can cut large numbers of people out. We don't want to do that, but we don't want fraud, waste, and abuse. And, we're cutting that. but they want to have illegal aliens come into our country and get massive health care at the cost to everybody else, and we don't have it. And that's I would say the number one reason that they want to strike is to get illegal immigrants health care. And you know, Gavin Newsom wants that too in California.
손절을 하긴 해야 되는데 손절점을.
We're not going to let it happen.
Mr. President, undocumented immigrants,
Do you have a plan for dealing with drug companies that are responding to MFN only by raising prices overseas as opposed to lowering prices in the U.S.?
No, they're responding. I understand that question very well, but they're responding by lowering prices. They're helped by lowering prices. You know, there's a price at which they can't sell, and they're helped by lowering prices. In the case of Albert and in the case of Eli Lilly, the fact is our prices are coming down massively. You see, that's just a few of the basics, but they're coming down much more than that with many drugs, and over 1,000%. Think of that, over 1,000% reduction next week, because we have some of them on the board next week, where you have over 1,000% price reduction. No, what's going to happen is you're going to have the market will kick in. This way, the market kicks in. The other way was just basically it was just a form of control. You were stifling the market. Yeah.
Following up on Ryan, is a shutdown inevitable? And how would you describe the negotiations with Democrats yesterday? Are more meetings scheduled?
So nothing is inevitable, but I would say it's probably likely because they want to give healthcare to illegal immigrants, which will destroy healthcare for everybody else in our country. And I didn't see them bend even a little bit when I said we can't do that. Okay?
Mr. President.
Can I ask a question of Dr. Osmond?
못 지키면.
If there is no deal reached on the Obamacare subsidies with the Democrats, is there anything that CMS can do to lower those, to mitigate the increases of those Obamacare subsidies?
Not really, but we have time. We have time till the end of the year to make the changes I know the president is evaluating, but we should have a clean, continuing resolution, get past this budget process as it has happened so many times, and allow the president and leadership some freedom to be able to put some good ideas in front of the legislative bodies.
Mr. President, undocumented immigrants,
We actually do have time for that.
they're not eligible for the health care subsidies that Democrats are demanding. So can you clarify, what are you talking about when you say Democrats want to protect their health care?
So when an illegal person comes in, a person who came into our country illegally, therefore breaking the law.
멘탈도
And
나오고.
look, we all have big hearts. I have a big
짜증에
heart than you
승질에.
do. They're all breaking the law, and they're coming into our country. And we just, as a country, cannot afford to take care of millions of people who have broken the law coming in. We want them to come into our country, but we want them to come in legally. Now we have a strong border, very strong border, thanks to Christie and Tom Holman and the whole group. They've done an amazing job with the border. I mean, we had a border that was reckless. We had a border that was a disaster. They were coming in by the millions. I say 25 million people. You're saying less, but I say 25 million people came in illegally. And no system can take care of the health care of all of those people that came in. Now, a lot of them have gone out. We have over 11,000 murderers. We got many of them out. Many of those people have been taken out of the country, brought back to where they came from. In some cases, put in prison because they're so dangerous. We don't want to take them out. We have to watch them. We don't want them coming back. But if you look at what's happening in Washington, D.C. right now, it is such a place. I just drove through it, and it's clean and nice and beautiful. People are walking around and they're not afraid of being mugged. We haven't had murders. We haven't had anything happen in a long time. It took us 12 days to make it very good. It took us 20 days to make it beautiful. And now we're going to Memphis. But I think we should always keep a presence here, because if we don't keep a presence, it's going to come back never like it was, because we got rid of 1,700 career criminals. You know what that is? One career criminal can give you a lousy reputation for danger, because they commit many crimes a day in some cases. But Washington, D.C. is an unbelievable example of what can happen. And now we're going, as you know, to Memphis, which was very similar to
시가에서 또 저항 맞아요. 아, 좀 그만 좀 하자 좀.
And we're working along very well with the governor, the mayor. A lot of these Democrat mayors, you know what they don't want to have us do well, because if we do well, it makes them look bad, and they shouldn't feel that way. If I were a Democrat and I was a governor or mayor, I'd be calling Trump. I'd say, get your troops over here, get your help. Because the mayor of Washington is getting a lot of credit for what we did. You know, a lot of credit. But the beauty is, this is nice, seriously. You walk down the street, you're not going to be mugged. You're not going to be hit. we had a meeting about 3-4 months ago, and I was saying to the media, how many of you people have been threatened or mugged or accosted during your walk to the White House? And they said, we don't walk to the White House anymore. But the answer was, remember, Brian, almost everybody's, oh, look at this guy. They even attacked this big, strong guy, right? Didn't you get attacked? Did you? But, yeah, just take a look at the other guy, right? What happened to the other guy? I don't know. Those other guys are pretty tough. They're tough with a gun in their hand, right? And, yeah, you were hit pretty hard. But almost everybody was. And now, nobody. Anybody been accosted in the last 3 weeks? If I would have said that 6 months ago, half the heads would have been raised up. No, we have a very safe city now. The country's going to be safe. We're doing one at a time, and we'll be going to Chicago. I told you the story. Union Pacific, head of the railroad, he knows this country very well. Started off as a very low-rung employee of the Union Pacific. He's now chairman. He came to me and he said, sir, save Chicago. It's a great city. It's going down fast. They had 11 people killed over the last couple of weeks. 11 people killed, 48 shot. That's not a city. That's a war zone. There's no city in the world like that. And then we have to listen to this Pritzker get up. I know him well. They threw him out of his business, and the family threw him out of his business because he's a loser. But we have to listen to Pritzker get up. He should call me and say, get the troops in. You ever hear that? 11 people over a week and a half killed.
확 밀어라 그냥. 어우 짜증난다 정말.
People shot. And then
다
I listen
털어먹어라.
to the governor say how nice it is. It's a wonderful experience. No? What is a wonderful experience is D.C. People are eating in the restaurants. They just opened 2 new restaurants, which hasn't worked in years. And we had
지지값 밀렸죠.
4 years ago, we were just getting ready to do this, but we did it right. And, you know, we have a big victory in the Supreme Court. It's called merit. And so that includes the military. Our soldiers, did you see what they look like? These guys, they look like serious soldiers. They weren't playing games, and they went in there and they did a fantastic job. And Washington, D.C. is now a beautiful, safe city. The restaurants are thriving. The people are walking down the street holding their husband or their boyfriend's hand, and they're not worried about being raped or mugged or shot at. And it's been an amazing thing. And we'll do that in every city. We'll do them sort of one at a time. We'll do a couple at a time. And we have a tremendous force because, as you know, in recruitment numbers, when we put out, 2 years ago, when Biden would put out recruitment, nobody would join. Nobody wanted to be in the military. Nobody wanted to be police.
아까 항복을 했어야
this
했는데.
morning, you probably saw my speech over with the military, with the generals, admirals.
갑자기 그분이 오셔가지고 아
Numbers of
뭐에
people signing
씌웠어요.
up for the Navy, the Army, Air Force, Marines, Coast Guard, Space Force. I love Space Force. That was my baby. But we have record numbers of people signing up, and that includes police department, fire department. So, you know, it's been an amazing thing. Well, we're going to have another meeting next week on this. We have another great company coming in, similar kind of numbers. But we're going to show you some 1,000% drops in prices. There has never been anything like this in the history of medicine. And it's an honor. And Albert, I want to thank you, and I want to thank everybody behind me, because you are a great team. We have a great team. Everybody says you have a great cabinet. It's a great team. So thank you, Bobby. Thank you very much. Thank you, everybody.
What's the company next research? You have an update on IGF conference?
President Trump with Health and Human Services Secretary Bobby Kennedy, to Dr. Mehmet Oz and Dr. Marty McCary, his health team making a massive difference. So building on that right to try from the first term to favored nation status through the executive order, and Pfizer cooperating, working with public and private partnerships in order to streamline those drug prices. And you heard from the White House press pool and that one reporter about
She's got my heart in a spin tonight. Every look is a gamble under neon lights. Her smile's a dead. Can I play? She deals me in and I'm here to stay. Play me again on your favorite song.
결국은 손절 따라오네. 아이씨 진짜 개쓰레기야. 오늘따라 어우. 얘는 뭐 하루 종일 그냥 이런 움직임이었는데 그냥 갑자기 저 혼자 말렸어요. 저 혼자. 뭐 얘 탓할 게 아니죠. 게스트 탓.
She's a DJ on the tune she spins. In her hands, my world begins. Her laughter's the beat, her love's the bass. I'm lost in the sound of her embrace. Play me again, I'm your favorite song. On repeat all night, where we belong. Your touch reminds me I can defend. Baby, hit that button and play me again. Her eyes are notes in a secret key, unlocking music inside of me. Every word she whispers feeds the fire, a symphony of love and sweet desire.
매도 중이 재결되었습니다.
선전했어요. 하나 뜨고 그냥 다 선전했어. 지금 자리에 어디 92.25. 그러니까 90 위에서 반등하는 거죠. (804.5에서) 빠꾸하네. 804.5에서 그냥 다 나올 걸 그랬네. 다 선전하고. 하나를 왜 남겨놓은 거야? 나도 참 진짜. 아무리 봐도 미는 그림인데. 나머지 하나도 그냥 다 나왔었어. 아 진짜 개치사 반스. 804.5에서 밉니다. 뭐 그냥 여기서 그냥 다 파트를 했었어야지. 오늘 엔비디아 혼자 신났어요. 2.5. 아까 보니까 엔비디아 시총 4조 5천억 달러 돌파했다고. 반도체도 그냥 그래요. 0.2% 강보합. 보합.
매도 중이 재결되었습니다.
다 손절 땄어. 똥 내봐가지. 아 실시간 잔고 1,000원 남겨놔야지. 500원 다시 집어넣고 다시 시작해야 되네 또. 어이가 없네요. 아 참. 누굴 탓해? 다 내 탓이지 뭐. 아 어쩌다 이렇게 됐지. 오늘 진폭이 그렇게 크지도 않았어요. 62.75 저가 22.25 140호 좁은 진폭에서 아주 변태 움직임이라. 그냥 진득하게 그냥 기다리면은 아마 오늘 좀 수익 좀 많이 가져갈 수 있을 것 같아요. 저처럼 그냥 갑자기 그냥 그분이 오셔가지고 말리면, 야 이런 움직이면 말리면 그냥 약이 없어. 그쵸. 15분봉 와 낙서지를 뭐 이렇게 해놓은 거 봐. 밀 것 같아. 찔끔. 그러다 갑자기 오늘 꼴랑 140호. 네, 장창님 손실 많아. 저처럼 좀 말렸나봐. 아 오늘 예, 그냥 잊어버리고 뭐 오늘은 쉬었다가 이걸 뭐 다시 해도 이미 망가져가지고 손실이 더 늘어나면 늘어났지 복구를 못할 것 같아. 오늘 잊고 그냥 쉬고 잊고 저점 이거 밀죠. 약손절이라도 잘 그냥 잘 나왔어. 2시 분봉 바뀌면서 바뀌기 전에 조금 반등하다가 더 밀어버릴 수도 있다. 구름대 하단 4시간 봉 24,700 690 700 엔비디아 혼자만 2.25%고 뭐 나머지는 죽을 수죠. 본장도 뭐 마이너스 0.24%, 나사, 다우 마이너스 0.23, S&P 마이너스 0.13. 자, 오늘 조금 일찍에 벌써 2시구나. 방송 여기까지 하고 물러날게요. 고생 많으셨습니다. 9월 마지막 날 3분기 말장. 아유 고생 많으셨습니다. 예, 재원님 수고 많으셨습니다. 남은 시간 어쨌든 매매하실 거면 성투하시고 국방 되시고 내일 저녁 10월의 첫 거래일 4분기 첫 거래일 내일부터 뭐 화이팅 으쌰으쌰 해보기로 해요. 감사합니다. 자, 남은 시간 모두 성투하시고 내일 맞아. 내일 ADP 짜피농 짜피농은 발표하죠. 짜피농은 민간기관에서 발표하는 거기 때문에 발표해. 그쵸. 공급관리자협회에서 발표하는 ISM PMI도 발표를 할 테고. 주말 비농고용이 발표를 못하는 거죠. 방송은 30분 한 20분쯤 후에 종료할게요. 자, 내일 다시 뵙겠습니다. 내일 다시 봬요. See you. 감사합니다. 내일 뵐게요.
Saw her dancing in the twilight sky. Her laughter like a songbird's cry. She floated by on dreams of silk and lace. Love on the wind, sweet embrace. Her eyes like stars, they shine so bright. In the veil of the darkest night, with every breath she steals my soul. A love that makes me lose control. Love on the wind, it's like a flight, soaring high into the night. Hold on tight, don't let it fade. In the breeze our hearts are swayed. She wrote her name upon my heart, a story where we never part. Whispers carried on a summer's breeze. A love that brings me to my knees. Love on the wind, it's like a flight, soaring high into the night. Hold on tight, don't let it fade. In the breeze our hearts are swayed. In every storm we find a way. Through the rain, love will stay. We'll dance until the morning light, with love on the wind, taking flight. In every storm we find a way. Through the rain, love will stay. We'll dance until the morning light, with love on the wind, taking flight. Sparks are flying in the night. Feet are moving, taking flight. light. Lost in rhythm, hearts collide, chasing dreams we can't hide. Just keep dancing till the sun. We've only started, we're not done. Spin the chaos, let it run underneath the neon gun. Shadows melting in the glow. Laughter sings a sweeter show. Let the music pull you near. No more whispers, only cheer. Just keep dancing till the sun. We've only started, we're not done. Spin the chaos, let it run underneath the neon gun. Every heartbeat feels so wild. In this moment we're beguiled. No tomorrows, nothing planned. Now's the time to take a stand. Just keep dancing till the sun. We've only started, we're not done. Spin the chaos, let it run underneath the neon gun. Every heartbeat feels so wild. In this moment we're beguiled. No tomorrows, nothing planned. Now's the time to take a stand. Just keep dancing till the sun. We've only started, we're not done. Spin the chaos, let it run underneath the neon gun.
Life is a tumble, no map in our hands. Winds may pull us like shifting sands. Every heartbeat, a step on the road. Through the chaos, we carry the load. Mountains rise, but so do we. The sky's the limit, though we can't see. Sometimes we stumble, sometimes we run. The race isn't over till it's won. Life is a journey, and journeys are life. A twist of fortune, a dance through the strife. With every sunrise, there's more to explore. Unlocking the dreams behind every door. Footprints fade in the sands of time, but the echoes of laughter always climb, chasing horizons that blur and gleam, finding ourselves in the in-between. No straight lines, just winding trails, braving the rain journey, and journeys are life. A twist of fortune, a dance through the strife. With every sunrise, there's more to explore. Unlocking the dreams behind every door. Woke up with the world in my hands so tight, chasing shadows, running faster than light. Through the noise and the madness of the street, I keep searching for a place where hearts can meet. Find your peace where the wild winds blow, under the sky where the soft grass grows. Leave the weight of the world behind in the whispering woods. Your calm you'll find. Every step leaves a mark on the stone, path untaken where you're truly alone. The stars above, they're still burning for free, lighting the way to the stillness in me. Behind every mountain, there's a quiet voice calling your name. It's your only choice. Listen close past the chatter and cries. Feel the silence, let it open your eyes. Find your peace where the river runs slow, in the golden fields where the wildflowers grow. Leave the weight of the world behind in the rustling leaves. Your calm you'll find. Winds rush, tearing through the skin so bare. Yet I find strength in the cool of the air. And storms have a way to cleanse the soul through every tempest. A chance to feel whole. Winds rush, tearing through the skin so bare. Yet I find strength in the cool of the air. Even storms have a way to cleanse the soul through every tempest. A chance to feel whole. A dawn breaks through the shattered night. The shadows fade beneath the though feet may bleed, the roots of dreams outgrow the weeds. Through every war, through every cry, there's endless hope that does not die. Endless hope, it fills the air, a flame that burns beyond despair. No walls too high, no storm too strong. With endless hope we all belong. The stars above will guide the way through every night and every fray. The whispers tell us not to hide. With endless hope we rise inside. Endless hope, it fills the air, a flame that burns beyond despair. No fear can break what we have made. With endless hope we'll never fade. We're riding waves on oceans wide, through storms and sun you can't divide. Every shadow in the night, I'm the beacon shining bright. When clouds turn gray and skies cry rain, in every joy and every pain, I'll be there to ease the ride. I'm always on your side. Through the highs and through the lows, no matter where the wind blows, hand in hand we'll face the tide. I'm always on your side. Through the highs and through the lows, no matter where the wind blows, hand in hand we'll face the tide. I'm always on your side. We'll conquer mountains tall and steep, dive to the depths where dreams sleep. In every twist and every guide, I'm always on your side. Through the highs and through the lows, no matter where the wind blows, hand in hand we'll face the tide. I'm always on There's a fire that burns